young and you're able to endure these things. But at that moment, you're not thinking in yourself as a grand scheme as a company. Like for example, you know, most companies, they dive in a lot of their money, a lot of their earnings into research, into learning new products, into creating new products, into I would say maybe marketing, maybe um, just new innovation for them to keep on being sustainable. And they try to, whether we like it or not, the companies cut back on expenses. Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're back, and I want to share some ideas again from the book, The War of Art, and just so excited, so thankful and grateful to be able to do this every day, and I want to share some ideas real quick from the book again, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Hopefully you guys are um, getting some insights or getting some type of feedback that will give you guys a great um, maybe some inspiration, some motivation, maybe some inner type of thoughts that we all have, and we kind of are thinking it, but we never talk about it, we never say it. And a lot of individuals that I follow are living their lives to the true selves because they're out there talking about their feelings and their inner thoughts that we kind of deal with every single day, but we never really talk about it, for the purpose of maybe being ashamed of it, maybe being looked at as different, maybe um, just not really being taken seriously, right? And sometimes we keep it in and we just walk with our daily task, and we live our lives kind of against our own selves, and which is the reason why I started a channel. And so far, it's been not only a revelation to myself, but also seeing people around me, friends, family, everything that I've encountered, how things kind of open up, and I get to learn more the reality of how we all live our lives, and also how a lot of people are also kind of living with a lot of knowledge within themselves, but they don't share it with the world because they feel that they're not worthy, they don't have what it takes, and they don't have the capacity to handle what comes with that. And I think, personally, I think whatever you have inside, which is the reason why I'm doing this, there's a reason why you're doing it, and you wouldn't have that, I would say, that inner feeling if you weren't able to handle it. So first and foremost, if you want to do something, do it, because if you have it inside of you, it's because it's coming from you, and you have everything that is needed and that will be needed for you to undertake the journey. So hopefully that gets you guys moving. So yeah, from the book here, The War of Art, he was talking about. There's a part where he talks about incorporating yourself. Give me one second. Let me see if I can make it a little bit brighter. Incorporating yourself in the sense of um, being your own company, right? And handling yourself as a company, right? As a professional and an amateur, he says amateurs will kind of not think of themselves as a company and kind of just do things with short term what's that word called, short term dealings, but not thinking long term. And this is great, I think, for all of anybody that's young here is watching. It is great because when you're young, when you come out of college, when you do all these exciting things that you're working towards, that you think are you gonna have your own adult life, where we all want to be adults really fast, right? Especially when you're living with your parents, you can't wait to get out of your mom's and your dad's house to live on your own and have your own money and have your own freedom, which is what I think what all of us teenagers, want. And it's funny to me because once we do that, we get smacked in the face by the world. how how the world is a very huge and a very place a place where if you're not mentally capable of dealing with what comes with it, you can get swallowed up inside, right? And this is coming from a person that has done my fair of really really stupid things in life, and I might do a lot more because I'm still learning, but um, you tend to do a lot of things in life, and looking back at it, you're like, wow, at that moment in time, that was all I knew, the best I could, I would say react, um, or handle situation. But sometimes when you get older and you realize, there's a lot of ways you could have gone upon that, a lot of ways you could have done it differently, but you kind of understand that that's where you at right now. So I know for me, even now, still nowadays, I might react certain ways, or I might want to just really like maybe react to certain things in a maybe in a different manner. But then I think about how would it affect that person? How would it affect me? How would it affect um, uh, just the situation? How would it the outcome of it entirely, right? Which is I feel that's why a lot of I grew up in neighborhoods where we were teenagers and we were doing a lot of crazy shit. Sorry for the language, but yeah, we were doing a lot of stuff. When you're a teenager, you don't really think long term. You think about right now. What you want to get, was yours right now. Competitive wise, you're trying to take over somebody else's territory or whatever it may be, steal, um, a lot of things that obviously is not good for society. But as a teenager, you feel that's the best option for you. And when you get older, you kind of tend to understand how the consequences of it, how it kind of um, derails you to not be as efficient or productive in your everyday life. And everybody has their own lives, so we can't really decide on that. But I think there's always those moments where you are like, man, if I get out of this, there's those moments where you're like, if I get out of this without having to, be hurt or go to jail or um, not lose anything, I'm gonna change, right? These are the moments that I think we all have. I think from a higher being or whatnot, that makes you realize, like, man, you're on the wrong path, or you're doing things that are not safe or not sustainable. So it's always a moment for everybody, and I think for all of us, some people get those moments sooner than later, and some might not get it at all, or some do get it, and we keep on repeating it ourselves. And I'm a big advocate of that because it's happened to me many a times. I've done a lot of mistakes, and I keep on repeating the same mistakes, and and I keep on learning the same lessons, right? But that being said, you get older, you realize there's certain times where he says in the book, you want to handle yourself as your own company, right? So I can't really make an analogy with this because it's kind of obviously, as it says, be your own company. But I think a lot of young guys, especially young males and females, we don't really understand, ourselves, and we're trying to find ourselves every single day. I'm still trying to find myself. We're all trying to find who we are in this world. What is our role? What are we here to do? What are we here to accomplish? And in the midst of that, or in the mix of things, you kind of have these opportunities where you get given a lot of, for example, for me, handling myself like a business would be like my finances, right? Finances in the sense that, as you're young, and when you're young, you make a lot of money. You work 2 or 3 jobs. You have different income sources. You do a lot of things because you're young, and you have the vibrance and energy to take on any type of endure any type of how can I call it? I would say it's just the stress on the body, the stress on the mind. You're young and you're able to endure these things, but at that moment you're not thinking in yourself as a grand scheme as a company. Like for example, you know, most companies, they dive in a lot of their money, a lot of their earnings into research, into learning new products, into creating new products, into I would say maybe marketing, maybe um, just new innovation for them to keep on being sustainable. And and they try to, whether we like it or not, the companies cut back on expenses, and some expenses might be on employees, might be um, laying off a couple of individuals. It might be taking away some of the perks and benefits from some of these employees. And although we fight and we fuss, it still happens anyway. I'm an example of it. I got laid off for cutbacks, and there's always things that happen because the company is looking out for themselves. And in that way as well, they're always investing their money into how can they grow and how can they become, I would say, relevant, stay relevant, and be sustainable in any type of industry, any type of economy. And I think as an individual, you got to look at that yourself and apply those same principles in, you know, whenever you want to make a big purchase. When you have, you know, you saved up a couple of months of salary and you have a big purchase you have in mind, I think if you look at it in the way of a company, at least from my perspective, you look at the purchases. How is this gonna keep me relevant, sustainable, and also um, improve my overall, uh, I would say, value? And of course, everybody has their own value. So don't get me wrong. Everybody has their own value, and you have value. We all have value without possessions, anything like that. But what I can refer to is like, for example, if you want to start a business, and you know, for example, I have my computer back here behind me, and you might need some home office equipment to start it, and you know, you choose not to buy the equipment, even though you want to start your own journey, your own path, your own stuff. You would rather use that money for, I would say, a vacation, or maybe new clothes. There's many things you can buy, right? Furniture, whatever it may be that you think is more important. Then, again, I'm not here to say what's right or wrong. I'm just saying this is kind of a way you can look at it, right? So we tend to use that money for things that we feel that are important. Then in the long, I would say, end of the year, we feel kind of burned out. We feel like, wow, we never started what we wanted to start. We missed out, not missed out, but we, you know, didn't really go into our passions 100%. And sometimes those little moves, little plays, as they call it, like in chess, those small moves make a big difference in the grand scheme of your passions and your endeavors. Sometimes you have to invest in certain things, and I know for me, the hardest thing for me is flipping that switch, because I've always been one that grew up obviously grew up in a lower income home, and not even small, you know, I would say not even middle class at all, and money was very hard to come by, and I learned that growing up I was kind of always thoughtful and kind of always looking at where I was spending my money and how I can make it better, how can I spend it better, or how can I save it. I was always saving. So I had a little bit different approach on to spending on certain things that seemed absurd to me at that moment. But as I got into the journey and I got a little bit more driven, I learned that sometimes you have to be able to know the difference, right? Of going into your passions and investing in some things that might seem absurd to you, but if it's gonna keep you relevant, keep you sustainable, and also help in innovation for yourself, and that could be in books, that could be in new tech. Maybe you might need a new behind me like a new computer. Maybe you might need some equipment for your audio studio, whatever it may be. Um, we're always bootstrapping here with in the YouTube channel, but there's certain times when you have to dish out some of the money, and you have to be able to take care of yourself as a company. And I always ask yourself a question: what would a company do? You know, how would it move forward? What are their principles, right? And I think then you start changing things from being so personal to it, as in, you know, spending the money on brand new, whatever, I don't know, whatever it is that we all have our own hobbies and our own likes, but spending our money on things that might not return us the same value that we spent on it, and look at it long term, right? So the only one we have to blame for anything, as I always said in this channel, the reason why we're not where we want to be, and we haven't gotten there, is because of us. We are the ones responsible. There's nobody else. The train ain't coming. It's on us. And It's not our families, our parents, our kids, our jobs, our relatives, our friends, our economy, and our neighborhood we live at. It is on us, and we need to find ways to make ourselves more, I would say, we already have the value, but being able to bring that out and being ourselves. And I'm going to go ahead and cut the video short because it's going very long. I felt like I needed to get this message out. And I would love to hear your comments and what do you guys believe? Are you investing in yourselves? Are you, hence, books, knowledge, courses, whatever it is you need to get for yourself, that is truly needed? Not because somebody tells you need it, but it's truly needed. And what is holding you back? So remember, treat yourself as a company, and you might change the way you move. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.
True significance here in this world, and I think we're all on the same journey. That's what we all want. I think I want to do. To be able to know what are we here to do, and I think it's one day at a time. So let me cut the video short. I'll see you guys next time. And look out for my videos, guys. Thank you so much for following me. I appreciate you guys, and don't forget to like if you do and subscribe. I'll see you guys.